At Synapse we say that there's 1.6 million Australians who have been affected by acquired brain injury, and that's taken into account many forms of acquired brain injury such as the strokes and through falls and social violence. The difficulty is that a lot of people will say that there's a whole different ways to actually measure acquired brain injury, and I think the point is that we don't know how many people in Australia do have an acquired brain injury, so we need to look at methods in which to get that information.
But you know, it's that thing, people just don't understand. You don't understand. People look at you and go, "You're fine." It's like, no, I'm not fine.
I imagine that the danger of stigmatizing people and feeding stigmatization is out there and it's big. I know, being a psychiatrist, that just people with mental disorders are very powerfully stigmatized, and the mental disorder can be something transient. Brain injury can be perceived as permanent. So there is in itself there a danger of a bigger stigmatization.
But I think it needs to be kind of more publicly aware. I think it's hardly anybody, before it happened to me, I knew nothing about it. I think that's the case for the majority of the public out there. They hardly know anything, if anything at all, about it. And I guess it's good to get the information, out there so everybody knows more about it, and be more aware.
Well, there's really not a lot of exposure on the media about brain injury. There are some public interest documentaries that we see from time to time. Generally, they've been initiated by families who are having difficulty with supports or resources, that are desperately trying to get some sort of community awareness and some follow-up from the government based on that. We do see it occasionally in television programs.
In terms of how I believe and feel that the media portray acquired brain injury, well, my short answer is I don't think they do. Often it's misrepresented, or it's represented in the context of either social violence or criminal justice or juvenile delinquency, as examples.
I can remember quite clearly, as part of preparation for a policy paper on people with a brain injury in the criminal justice system, a headline in the respectable broadsheet publication The Australian that talked about a mother killed by her brain damaged son.
I actually think it's just through their lack of knowledge about it, basically. I mean, some of the things that they say through what seems to be obvious to me is that they haven't actually done the research to know about it. And that's the big thing. I mean, I know that before I had my own injury, I didn't know places like Headway existed.
So there is, I believe, a lot of scope for media people in improving the depiction of this situation and finding a language that is both sensitive and appropriate, and possibly also stimulating intervention and improvement of communication, which are the other important issues in communicating news and informing the audience about the existence of problems.
So it's very important. I think we then need to look at a form of national consistency around journalists and the different states and territories on how we report, so we have that national information awareness going out. I think that's probably one of the easiest ways to reduce misunderstanding about how to portray it within the medium.
I think one of the issues there is it's not as clear-cut as to where there's no real one-stop shop where one can go for the definitive, the ultimate, the consistent, the universal help that you might need after an acquired brain injury, for example, or if you're a family member of a person with a brain injury, whereas there are obvious places like Lifeline, Beyond Blue, for people who've got a mental health concern, for example, or are at some risk of suicide.